specter of a direct confrontation between the United States and the People's Republic of China looms large over the Indo-Pacific. The strategic American territory of Guam, a linchpin of U.S. power projection in the region, finds itself increasingly at the center of this burgeoning rivalry. While the alarming headline of U.S. strikes back after 40 Chinese missiles target Guam has not materialized in reality, the underlying anxieties and strategic calculations that make such a scenario a subject of intense speculation and wargaming are deeply rooted in the present-day military balance. The premise of such a cataclysmic event, though not based on factual occurrences, serves as a critical lens through which to examine the precarious state of security in the Western Pacific, the capabilities of both nations, and the potential flashpoints that could ignite a conflict of unprecedented scale. Guam's significance to the United States' strategic posture cannot be overstated. Located in the Mariana Islands, it is a sovereign U.S. territory, and its residents are American citizens. Militarily, it hosts Andersen Air Force Base and Naval Base Guam, which are critical forward deployment hubs for American air and naval power. These installations allow the U.S. to project force across the vast expanse of the Pacific, including the contentious South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. The island's strategic value has only grown as the U.S. has sought to disperse its forces to make them less vulnerable to a potential first strike. In any conflict with China, Guam would serve as an essential logistical and operational nexus, enabling sustained military operations far from the American mainland. It is precisely this strategic importance that places Guam firmly in the crosshairs of China's military planners. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, has invested heavily in developing a formidable arsenal of ballistic and cruise missiles designed to hold American assets at risk, a strategy often referred to as anti-access area denial, A2AD. The PLA Rocket Force, PLARF, fields a range of missiles with the reach to strike Guam, most notably the DF-26 Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile, often dubbed the Guam Killer. This missile is capable of carrying both conventional and nuclear warheads, adding a dangerous layer of ambiguity to any potential conflict. The development and deployment of such capabilities are a clear signal of China's intent to deter, or, if necessary, counter U.S. intervention in a regional crisis, particularly one involving Taiwan. A hypothetical scenario involving a barrage of 40 Chinese missiles targeting Guam would represent a dramatic and unambiguous act of war. Such an attack would aim to achieve several strategic objectives simultaneously. Firstly, it would seek to neutralize the critical military infrastructure on the island, crippling the U.S. ability to respond effectively to a Chinese fait accompli, such as an invasion of Taiwan. By degrading airfields, port facilities, and command and control centers, the PLA would hope to create a window of opportunity to achieve its primary objectives before the U.S. could mount a significant counteroffensive. Secondly, a strike on this scale would be a profound psychological blow, demonstrating China's military reach and its willingness to escalate to a level of violence not seen since World War II. It would be a direct challenge to American primacy in the Pacific and would force a U.S. administration to make a momentous decision about how to respond. The United States, for its part, has not been idle in the face of this growing threat. The defense of Guam is a top priority for the Pentagon, which has been steadily bolstering the island's defenses. A multi-layered missile defense system is being developed and deployed, incorporating a variety of sensors and interceptors designed to counter different types of missile threats. This includes the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, EOAD, system, which is already operational on the island, and the planned Aegis Ashore system. The goal is to create a 360-degree persistent defense capability that can track and engage multiple incoming threats simultaneously. However, the sheer number of missiles that China could potentially launch in a saturation attack presents a formidable challenge to any defensive system. The effectiveness of these defenses in a real-world combat scenario remains a subject of intense debate and analysis within the defense community. In the event that a Chinese missile attack on Guam were to overcome these defenses and inflict significant damage, the United States would be faced with a stark and perilous set of choices. A failure to respond decisively would be seen as a catastrophic blow to American credibility and would effectively cede regional dominance to China. Allies and partners in the region, such as Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia, would be forced to reassess their security alignments in a world where American guarantees were no longer seen as ironclad. Therefore, a significant U.S. military response would be all but inevitable. The nature of that response would be a matter of intense deliberation, weighing the need for a proportionate and effective counterstrike against the risk of further escalation. The U.S. possesses a vast array of options for striking back. Submarines and surface ships could launch cruise missiles at key PLA naval and air bases, as well as command and control nodes. Long-range bombers operating from bases outside the immediate range of most Chinese missiles could conduct sorties against strategic targets on the Chinese mainland. Cyber attacks could be employed to disrupt China's military and critical infrastructure. However, any direct attack on Chinese soil would carry with it the immense risk of a wider war. China's nuclear arsenal, while smaller than that of the United States, is a potent deterrent, and the leadership in Beijing would face its own set of pressures to escalate in the face of an American counterattack. The escalatory ladder is steep and fraught with the potential for miscalculation. A strike on a Chinese naval vessel could lead to a retaliatory strike on an American aircraft carrier. An attack on a mainland base could lead to a broader campaign against U.S. forces and allies throughout the region. The ultimate nightmare scenario, a nuclear exchange, while unlikely, could not be entirely ruled out in the heat of a major conflict. The geopolitical shockwaves of such a conflict would be felt across the globe. The world economy, deeply intertwined with both the U.S. and China, would be thrown into turmoil. Global supply chains would be shattered, and the flow of international trade would be severely disrupted. The political and diplomatic fallout would be equally profound, with nations around the world forced to take sides in a new and dangerous global Cold War. Ultimately, the specter of a missile attack on Guam and a subsequent U.S. counterstrike serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the Indo-Pacific. While the headline may be hypothetical, the underlying tensions and military capabilities that make such a scenario plausible are very real. The strategic competition between the United States and China is the defining geopolitical drama of the 21st century, and the island of Guam stands at its epicenter. The choices made in Washington and Beijing in the coming years will determine whether this competition can be managed peacefully or whether it will spiral into a conflict that would reshape the global order in ways that are both profound and terrifying to contemplate. The imperative for both